All right, Nick, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. This is a young and up and coming team. I think there's a lot of great players on this defense, but there's one player in particular who's really started to show out to the coaches. I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, as we alluded to, the Lions, young team, a lot of young guys doing a lot of great things, but there's one guy in particular, Isaac Ukwu, who has caught the eyes of the Lions coaching staff and shown that he could be a valuable piece for this Lions team. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from SI.com. It says, as a result, he's caught the eye of the coaching staff and has made a compelling case to be among the players the Lions keep at the end of the preseason. It says, I just bring up a guy like Ukwu, man. When he got here in the spring, he was last on the depth chart. It was, where can this guy play? He's not the biggest guy. He's not really a Samp, head coach Dan Campbell explained. Is he a defensive end? He's just steadily got better and better, and he plays much bigger than he is, plays longer than his length says. Every time you give him an opportunity, he just shows up. So, Nick, I think this is incredible. A guy that's gone from being last on the depth chart to now potentially making this team and being a potential role player going through this season. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this one. But before we get to you, Nick, Lions fan, we've seen the preseason. It has started. We've seen a lot of players stand out. There's one game left. Who are you the most excited to see in this last preseason showdown? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And while you're down there, check out the description below the video. We've got a great book. It's none other than Playmakers by Mike Florio. We've been plugging it all offseason. We're going to keep plugging it because it's still the offseason. So check the description down below. Use our Amazon affiliate link. If you want to get the book, it costs you nothing extra. It helps out the channel tremendously. So check that out in the description below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on Ukwu's growth with this Lions team?
So Ukwu to me is becoming very quickly the quintessential Dan Campbell Detroit Lion. This is a guy in Ukwu in college who suffered through not one but two significant ACL injuries during the COVID period. So this guy, during a crazy atmosphere in college, right, with restrictions on what you can do, games canceled, seasons canceled, things like that, he also suffered through two severe potential career-ending knee injuries and battled back through all of that to get back to playing college football, to get the attention of the Lions, and to get into training camp. That by itself would have been one heck of an accomplishment. But the fact that he's impressing people on the practice field, and more importantly, in my opinion, it's translating to the preseason games. Ukwu has 2 sacks through 2 games this preseason. We're looking at a guy here who's going to be a playmaker, I think, probably on special teams to start, but could grow and develop into a significant pass rusher as a rotational piece for this Lions defense. And look, if you look at this Lions defense, they certainly need pass rushing help. Last year, according to PFF, they finished right in the middle of the pack, 16th in pass rushing grade with a grade of about 75. But that's a little misleading because Aiden Hutchinson basically was carrying the team. Aiden Hutchinson graded out 91, 16 points above the Lions team average. So if you remove Aiden Hutchinson, this is essentially a bottom 5 pass rushing team. So they definitely need some help in the pass rushing department. And Ukwu, so far preseason, right, he's going up against preseason guys. He's doing pretty well. And this is a guy, I think, who's got the right mindset. He's got the mentality. And I really think one thing we've noticed with this Lions team is you look at Dan Campbell, you look at Aaron Glenn on the defensive side, these guys seem to really love and get captivated by these kind of, under the radar stories, guys that have had a few issues and things like that, that really kind of fell through the cracks. It reminds me a little bit of the book and later movie Moneyball, where the general manager of the Oakland Athletics, Billy Beane, was a top flight pick. He was a first round pick, but he kind of fell in love with those high value guys that other people forgot. I think that's what we're seeing with the Lions. Dan Campbell was a 3rd round pick. Aaron Glenn was a 1st round pick, but these guys clearly have a knack for identifying talent under the radar. And I think Ukwu is just the latest example of just that.
Yeah, Nick, and this is a guy who's come on strong, and I think this is the part that I really like about Campbell and Co. and what they're doing. Because Ukwu, let's be honest, he is not gonna be the starter for this team. He could be a valuable contributor, but I love the attitude that Campbell has about him because it's like let's be honest, this guy could potentially get cut. It is a possibility, but what Campbell said in this article is, I think this guy is good, and whether he is on our team or another team, I want to give him as much exposure as possible I think it's a guy that can succeed in the NFL. So Campbell's like, hey, this guy is a player. I really want him to make this roster, and it looks as if he's working his way to do as such. But he's saying if he doesn't, we want to get this guy on the field, give him as many snaps as possible. We got 86 snaps this preseason so far. This guy that's been on the field quite a lot. And he's saying, I think that somebody should be able to see this guy. We want to put him on the field. It's not like they're stashing their guys on their preseason roster, kind of keeping them from the public eye, being like, well, this guy could be something. Let's not show him to the public. They're highlighting these guys. They're showing them to the world. And I think it's going to pay off for them because I think he's going to be a guy that makes this roster. But if not, I like that he is giving him the opportunity to shine so another team could come pick him up.
Yeah, why does that matter, right? Because every team is battling after the draft every single year for the top flight undrafted free agents. And undrafted free agents want to go to a destination that has one of two opportunities. One, a chance to make the roster, most importantly, but number two, to get a lot of exposure. And the Lions and Dan Campbell here, with how they're treating Ukwu, are sending a message to every agent, every future undrafted free agent saying, listen, come to Detroit, because at the very, very least, worst case scenario, you're going to get a lot of exposure, which means going forward in the future, the Lions are going to get the best undrafted free agents. Now, look, I don't think they're going to let go of Ukwu. I think he makes this roster because I think he's done that well so far, and he's clearly impressed the coaching staff. But regardless of the impact of Ukwu, whether he's on the Lions or not, Detroit and Dan Campbell made another smart move here, setting themselves up very nicely for the future.